Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode. I am taking a bit of a break from all the in-depth reviews I've been doing, and I just want to talk about sound in general. Yes, I am pitting all the most popular earphones that I have currently currently in the market with the KZ Acoustics ZS10 Pro. But there is a reason for that. So if you do want to see all the in-depth reviews of all these earphones, I do have them. I leave a card up here for you to click on, and I leave them in the description below. Now the thing with all these earphones is they've all got their own characteristics, and of course they've all got their features, and each one has its own benefits over the others. For example, my favorite of the entire lot is usually been the Nothing ear ones because they have the volume slider control, which I've always really appreciated with earphones. But the other, well, more budget earphones, for example the Realme Buds Air 3, have a simultaneous pairing, so you can connect to two devices at the same time and you don't have to worry about switching between one earphone or the other, which is super convenient. So obviously in that case you have to decide now what your priority is. Do you want to be able to switch between devices constantly if you're working from home and you need to keep moving between your phone and your laptop, or is the call quality, who's hearing you on Zoom or your phone calls, more important? So in that sense, the Buds Air sort of eliminate themselves from that equation because they are terrific at swapping between devices. But as you'll hear in some of the call quality demos that I've got provided in my reviews, the call quality for the recipient isn't exactly the best out there. So now call quality is usually something that's very important to your recipients. So you want them to hear you properly. But then at some point you have to get a bit selfish and realize that you also want to hear good audio. So when you start listening to a whole bunch of earphones, you start realizing, especially what I've been doing a lot of A/B listening. So moving from one set to the other and back, and then comparing the better one with the superior set of earphones. So that's how I'm able to judge and assess which one sounds significantly better than the other. So through this process of elimination, I'm able to tell which one sounds better, and basis that I usually tell you what works best for you and whichever one you'll appreciate. Now the issue today is you've got so many features on a whole bunch of earphones that, let's say a company like Nothing has said, okay, we can pack in all these features, we can pack in all the R&D for all these features, and also the R&D for the sound, and spend on materials and put these things together for as much as 6,999. They did outsource their sound tuning to Teenage Engineering, and I have to say they've done a terrific job with those earphones. But at the end of the day, you have to realize that that budget is spread across so many different factors. So now all of these earphones do sound pretty good when it comes to the specific price range they sit in. They are tuned in different ways, they do have very different characteristics. Each earphone is catered to a slightly different group of people. But this is where I realized when I listened to the KZ Acoustics that a friend and supporter of the channel did send across. This specific company has not wasted their time worrying about R&D towards noise cancelling features and so on. Yes, they're worried about the build quality, they're worried about the accessories. You can make these Bluetooth earphones, they are not. So on a feature front, these are an absolute zero compared to all the other earphones. But what they do offer is their overall sound quality. I believe the Nothings are the best of the lot when it comes to all these earphones, and the KZ Acoustics is a separate entity altogether. So when it comes to the KZ Acoustics and the Nothing in particular, there is a stark difference between the two when it comes to their design, when it comes to their features and so on. So the KZ Acoustics, you will not get ANC, ENC, any features for that matter, because they are specifically made towards being terrific at how they sound. Whereas with the Nothings, you do get all the benefits of, you can take multiple calls, you can control the phone with pause play features and so on. Why am I touching on this point? Well, for one is there a similar price, in the sense you can get one for 5,999 or 4,999, whatever it is, and the KZ Acoustics you can get for that 4,500. And if you want to spend extra on making them a Bluetooth set of earphones or keep them as cabled, it's up to you. So that price can vary depending on how you want to accessorize them. So while I was doing the last comparison between, I think, the Nothing, the OnePlus and the Realmes, I did switch over to the KZ Acoustics just to see where it stood with all these earphones when it comes to their sound. And I can honestly say that the OnePlus and the Realmes aren't a touch on the KZ Acoustics. They are nowhere close to how these sound. The Nothings actually do surprisingly well. I wouldn't say they're as good as the KZ Acoustics. They are tuned well. They're hitting all the right notes when it comes to how they've been tuned. They are a nice set of sounding earphones. A lot of the masses will enjoy the way the Nothings do sound, but the KZ Acoustics, I think to a certain extent, is kind of unheard of because it's as simple as they're not a very well-known product. They're not available on Amazon India as far as I know. Very niche communities really know about this company because they are catered more towards hi-fi audio and they're not all-round stuff. So obviously if you're weighing the pros and the cons, you're going to say, hey, I'm getting more features here. The KZ Acoustics doesn't have any features at all, so why should I go for it? So why am I speaking about this in the first place? So I think that a lot of people can be exposed to much better audio even at this price range. It's just that they're not really aware of it. For example, I did hear a set of CCA earphones which I think go for maybe just about a little over $2,000, and I can honestly say, considering the earphones that I have reviewed in the 2,000 or 3,000 range, don't sound anywhere as good as those. So when it comes to their sound in particular, when it comes to the Nothing and the KZs, their highs in particular are significantly more present than the Nothings. The Nothings do tend to feel like they're not able to fill out as well as the KZs. The testing method I did, because of course one is cabled and one is Bluetooth, is I hooked it up to my iPad because that's the one device I have that has a headphone jack in it and can be played on a Bluetooth device as well. And I found that amping the KZs on my iPad, I didn't have to go beyond 25-30%, so it was at a comfortable volume. An equivalent of that on the Nothings was maybe 65-70%. So the amping factor via the iPad actually surprised me. So the KZ Acoustics amp very well. They're very easy to drive. I think the impedance, the resistance is just maybe 25 ohms. So phones can amp them, iPods, even iPads very clearly. So basically the highs are more present than the Nothings and they are terrifically detailed. The imaging on the KZ Acoustics the Nothing is good for what it is, but the KZ Acoustics is just a step above. It is that much better. It is much better defined. You are able to pull out so many more nuances with the KZ Acoustics. All plus points going towards the KZ Acoustics over here. Then you can move on to the soundstage. It is more expansive. In fact, the separation between left and right channel with certain tracks, some tracks with some instruments tend to pan very aggressively towards left and right channel, and the KZ Acoustics absolutely nails this compared to the Nothings, because the Nothings tend to, well, they're not as precise and detailed as you panning from side to side. They tend to feel a little more confused when they're doing this compared to the KZ Acoustics. When you compare the Nothings to every other earphone that's here, they're definitely the best of the lot. Now, when it comes to their low frequencies in particular, it's, well, if you listen to a pair of OnePlus Buds Z2 and you like the heaviness of the bass and you like the overall overwhelmingness of it, the KZ Acoustics aren't going to sort of obnoxiously throw the bass at you. They're a lot more composed, they're a lot more controlled, they're able to deliver themselves to you in a much more sophisticated manner. In fact, they sound very prim, in fact, even compared to the Nothings. They're able to throw bass at you in a more confident but in a very friendly manner, so it never seems obnoxious. Now, a lot of the testing I did was with Apple Music, but during my in-depth review of the KZ Acoustics in particular, I was testing them with high-res audio. So one thing to keep in mind is these earphones in particular are transparent, well, compared to the Nothings and the other earphones for sure. So if you're listening to high-res audio regularly, which you can do with the KZ Acoustics, you're letting in, the floodgates are open. If you're feeding it with 900 kbps, 2 Mbps, even 5 Mbps, you're feeding that data through because it's a cabled connection. The minute you say Bluetooth, you're restricting it. In fact, the Nothings and all these other earphones support SBC and AAC. So you're restricted between 250 kbps and 320 kbps. So that's the difference right here. The data transfer rate is that much better on the KZs for this very reason. Another big advantage you have with the KZ Acoustics is, since it's a cabled connection, if you're a gamer, you are not going to really be able to tell that there's a loss, or should I say a latency period, between firing something and hearing it. Most of the wireless earphones these days are doing anywhere between, I think, 94 milliseconds to 88, I think is the quickest. I think the Realme's do about 88, and they vary depending if you're using the same brand earphones and so on. So these are all factors, obviously. So let's say the quickest here is 88 milliseconds. The cabled connection, because it's a cable connection, Usually cables can handle anywhere between 7 to 20 milliseconds of response time. So you're not going to be listening to anything slower than 20 milliseconds. So you straight away shave off that much time when you're gaming. So that's a huge plus point for these. Now the thing is, if you are somebody who is trying to buy their first set of earphones, who wants a TWS set, or if you want the KZ, that's a tricky one because I know budgets can be a bit tight sometimes. So what you do want to do is, maybe if you want to play safe, you can go for the TWS because a lot more people have used them. They do have good service centers, at least most of them, so you can get in touch and you can get a replacement if something goes wrong. I don't know how good the after sales is with KZ Acoustics here, especially in India. But having said that though, what you can do is, if you already own a set of TWS earphones, and if you do have that extra budget where you want to try a new set, whether it's TWS or the KZs, I would strongly suggest you try the KZs. Now the KZs do come with a 1-year warranty. There have been a whole lot of complications with the KZs where people have said that 2 of the 5 drivers in the earphone don't work. Some people say that those drivers do pack up in time. Now the earphones I've tested, I don't know for sure whether all drivers have worked at the same time. If only one driver has been working from the start of my review to the end of it. But whatever the situation is, I still stand by, it sounds better than any of these other TWS earphones. So if you do have the extra money and you can go for these earphones just to try them out and experience better sounding sound in general, it's worthwhile exploring the market to see what else is there. So the one lot of people who have been really committed to exposing our country and our people to better sounding equipment are my friends at headphonezone.in. You can log into their website and see what they have to offer as per their prices, so you can decide what's best for you, and you can even chat with them whenever you want to talk and figure out what suits you best. So if you are one of these people who's on a quest to find better sounding audio, remember to keep an open mind, because there's a lot of things out there that are still new and a lot of people don't know about. So a lot of people are discovering these new things. For that matter, I also got so, I sort of had blinders on and I was only about TWS earphone reviews on this channel for the longest time. But now when I've seen stuff like this, I know it exists and I know it's significantly better. So it's worthwhile checking out what all you can pick up. And of course, there's always something out there that can always suit your price range. So I hope this video has benefited you in some way or the other. And if you would like to support me, I'm sure you know exactly how to do that. And of course, thank you for tuning into Paul's POV for some sound advice.